Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel and welcome to a new video on the channel. No gameplay in this one, although if you're watching on the channel, I do have another game lined up for later tonight. It's all set up in the game room. We're going to try Overflight again by Historic Wings a little bit later. But what I wanted to do in this video is I want to explore something new that Jester's been using on his channel. If you're not familiar with ID Jester, first of all, go check out his work, his channel. Second of all, he's been using something called DragnCards a lot lately for Marvel Champions, and he did it for Lord of the Rings. Turns out if we tab over here, there is also a module on here for Arkham Horror, the card game. That's a game that I'm going to be playing a lot. I play a lot of on the channel. So, since he's been doing a lot with Marvel Champions using this DragnCards, I wanted to scrutinize it myself for Arkham Horror the card game, so let's go ahead and jump in. First, you do need a free account. You need a free account to be able to set up anything on here. I've already done that, so we'll jump in. So you're going to go to create a room. I'm going to create a private room in this case. I'm going to set my number of players. So so in the menu, we've got options to load. We've got options to load a pre-built deck, public custom deck via URL, deck, game, or replay. Well, speak of the devil, Jester's stopping by saying I could do this. He thinks it should work out. We should test it to see how co-op play works. Well, let me dig around with this. Let me poke around with this tool a little bit first before we get anywhere near doing co-op play, because I want to make sure this is going to do what I need it to first. So you've got your options. You can load via URL. You can see here there's an option to load via an ArkhamDB deck link. So I've got a couple of decks pulled up on my other monitor. Actually, one of these is these are the end decks from the winter campaign when I did Scarlet Keys earlier this year. So we'll load via URL. We need the entire link. Actually, do we need the link page? We'll start with the link page, but it's not letting me. Card with database ID 09767 not found. You know what I wonder if that might be? I wonder if that's the. Well, I didn't figure you meant test now, but I didn't figure you meant test now, Jester. I wanted to poke around with it, see what I think about it first before we get near the co-op idea. So I'm wondering if it's not liking the paradimensional understanding. Let me see if I can find an earlier version of this deck before that before that came in. It looks like I'm gonna have to go back a little bit. Okay, here we go. Here's a different version. So let's see if this version loads in. Load via URL. Okay, so I'm thinking it probably was the paradimensional understanding that it didn't like, which is a little bit irritating to know, but let's see. What will it do when I go into info about it? Okay, so that's not what I want. The deck has to be shared. It is. All of my decks on ArkhamDB are all public, so that's not the problem. Let's see. Let's look at top end cards. Let's start with 10 cards. Okay. So close and keep order. Okay, this might be a little bit of a problem. Because especially, let me put that back in the deck for a second. The problem I'm having here is there's no way to search the deck. And I know there are a fair amount of cards in the game that let you search your entire deck for something. So that I think is a bit of a red flag. Let's see what okay, here it is. You have to go to the there's an eye icon. Let me close this for the time being. Keep order. But there is an eye icon right here that you have to go to be able to shuffle your deck, or to be able to search your deck. So I can go here, pull anything out, close and shuffle. Okay, so yeah, there is a way to go shuffle the deck. I stand corrected on that. Search deck by clicking on search. Yeah, that's the eyeball icon I was looking for here. So now we can see the deck has been randomized. We can search by asset, event, treachery, peek at skills. So yeah, there's ways to go searching for everything. So that's handy to know as Conflict Board Gaming stops by while I'm busy scrutinizing DragnCards specifically for Arkham Horror the card game. Okay, let me see if I can... So let's set up a number of players. I can also type in the card to search. Let me finish that. So if I go back in here... Oh, search, here it is. So I can type in Vicious Blow. Okay. Alright, cool. So we can do that. We'll close that and shuffle for the time being. Now I want to see if I can load a second deck in. And since it didn't seem to like paradimensional understanding, I'm going to go... Actually, let me bring in Ursula first as is. So let's load via URL. We'll paste in the link. Okay, yeah, I think it's the paradimensional understanding. So let me go back to another version of Ursula's deck. These are the decks that I was using in the winter campaign when I did Scarlet Keys earlier this year. So let's go and load via URL. Importing a deck. Okay, so that's giving me the second... That's threat area. I'm not wanting to put it in a threat area. So that could be a concern potentially. Unless there's a way I can widen this out, and I don't think there is. Okay, so it's giving me the 2 player cards. Oh, I see what it did. So it's actually shuffling... both decks into... So it looks like it actually put both decks into one. For two-handed solo, that I don't like. So I've got it. I do have it set for 2 players. That I don't like. So it looks like playing this two-handed solo is going to be a little bit... Using this for two-handed solo is going to be a bit of a concern. But I've got my deductions level 2 up here that I can get to, so I can definitely search everything. But yeah, I mostly play Arkham Horror the card game two-handed solo. So the fact that it's not... That I probably need a second seat... The fact that I'm basically only able to load one deck per player, that's a part... That's something I don't like. So if I sit in a new spot, now it moves the... So if I sit back down here... Actually, that might be a way to work around this. So let me close out of this room. Let me close out of this room and see if... So I'm going to mark this as... Okay, this is another thing I'm not really liking. So let's mark this as incomplete. And we're going to go back to DragnCards. Arkham Horror the card game. We'll load a new room again. A new private room. I can guarantee it does... I'm trying to figure out what the right things are. So have a nice dinner, Jester. So let's go back to 2 players. Let's see. So let's go back and load in the version of Diana that we had. So we'll load via URL. Load Diana in. Then I'll sit down over here. And let's see if it'll let me load in Ursula. Back to load via URL. Yeah, I'm not completely sure how I feel. I'm not completely sure how I feel about this at first glance. So as I switch back and forth, I kind of do that anyway when I'm doing two-handed solo. But I'm not sure how crazy I am about having to bounce back and forth. So now I've got Ursula's deck that I can look at here. Yep. So I sit back down at Diana, and I've still got Ursula's deck open. So let me close out of this. We'll keep the order. I'm not sure how crazy I am about having to... I'm not sure how crazy I am about having to continually load in the... I'm not sure how crazy I am about having to continually stand up and sit down between the two players. So that might be a little bit of a concern. But one other thing... frog in my throat tonight. One other thing I want to see here is let's load a pre-built deck. Because one other thing I want to do is when I'm playing a campaign, I like being able to shuffle in... When I'm playing a campaign and I do a side scenario, I like being able to shuffle in a couple encounter sets from the main campaign deck. So the question I have is, will it let me do that? So let's go load in a side story here. Let's say I want to do Curse of the Rougarou, for example. I'm not going to worry about trauma for the time being. I can move... Will it let me move lead investigators? Lead investigators owned by the scenario. Flip. It's not going to let me set alt art. Well, it will let me flip the investigator cards so I can see what the decks are. That's a good sign because I might need... Let's see if I can move cards out there. Okay, so it looks like it will move them over. Looks like it will move cards over, but it'll flip them up. And I know there's at least one scenario off the top of my head where that's not going to be something I want to have happen. So I'm going to move this back in, shuffle the deck. The next thing I want to figure out is if there's a way that I can default it to move up to the play area. Actually, let me see something. Let me see moving it play area. That's not what I want. The problem here is there's a scenario. I know for a fact that there's a scenario in the game. I'm going to get a little spoilerific about it. But in the last scenario of the Circle Undone campaign, you actually have to build you are actually building the map in... Actually, that's probably a good scenario to load. So let's actually go to that scenario next. Pre-built deck, campaign, Circle Undone. Here it is, Before the Black Throne. No trauma, no trauma. I think did I have a scenario loaded all? Oh, I did have Curse of the Rougarou loaded already. So let's see, Dragon options. Let's clear the table. Mark it as incomplete. Okay. So now we're going to load a pre-built deck. Campaigns, Circle Undone, Before the Black Throne. Loading the scenario. Okay, why is it not giving me... Why is it not giving me anything here? Spawn a card. That's not what I want here. Custom decks. Custom content? No, okay, that's for custom cards. So if you're building... So like for any of the fan-made scenarios that you might have, that would be something you could use there. Okay, coming back here, we'll load in our decks again, load via URL. I'm going to need to set this to 2 players. So I can sit down in the empty spot, reload Ursula. Okay, we'll switch over to Diana again. So let's see. There should be an act deck in here. That's actually there should be everything in here. Let's see, toggle sideboard. Okay. So let's load in. Okay, hold on. Load your decks, then load a scenario. So we've got a scenario loaded in. At least I thought I did. For the Black Throne. Okay, we've got no trauma, no trauma. Backing up. Okay, I think we're done. Nope. Keep the order. Let's see here. Trying to get back to the main. Let's try the view. Player 1 set aside. That's not what I want. Player 1 deck. Shuffle that. No trauma for Ursula. No trauma. No mental trauma for Ursula. Sit down and player 1. Okay, easy difficulty. Okay, first thing I want to try to do is, first thing I got to do is close this out. But I'm trying to figure out how. So let me. It's not what I want here. I think I would probably, let's select that for a mulligan, just giving this a test. Okay, Ursula's hand. That would get shipped off. Okay, so it does spawn the cards. So if we sit back in Diana's seat, okay. So it is starting to load the, I'm going to pretend that's got no tally marks on it. Okay, looks like it does have everything I need here. Everything else that's out of play goes there. So it does load everything in. Now if I can get this nonsense out of the way. So there's probably... Okay, we'll close out of that. So look. Okay, so it does have everything here, but the other question I wanted to figure out, once I get closed out of here. Let's see, that was preferences. Player 1. Okay, set aside. That's all of the set aside stuff. Shared is all over here. Scenario removed. That's not what I want either. The other thing I want to find out is if it's going to let me load in. Actually, let me try. Actually, one thing I want to look up, I want to see if Ancient Evils is part of the scenario. I don't think it, excuse me, I don't think it is, but I would hardly swear to it. Let's see, player resources, there should be campaign guides. For crying out loud, Fantasy Flight is being, this website, the Fantasy Flight site is being really dumb. Let's see if I can have any better luck on my iPad. A little bit irritating. I've got to go to my iPad for this, but there we go. Let's see. We want products, Arkham Horror Files, player 1. Play area gives me that, but that's not what I want. I want to get out of this whole thing. I can't figure out how to do it. Let me see if I can start closing stuff all. No. Keep order. Act B. Keep order there. Okay, let me clear the... Let's clear the table. Mark that as incomplete. Okay, Arkham Horror, the card game. Let's start by reloading the decks again. So I did go a little bit nuclear there. Let's see, 2 players will load via URL. Let's see, player resources, campaign logs. Oh, it's probably going to be under rules. Here we go. Circle undone campaign rules. That's the scenario I've been using for testing purposes. So let's go to player 2. I'll load Ursula in. I'm probably not going to play a scenario of this. I just want to poke around with the tool and see how it works, what I think of it. Let's see, circle undone. I want to get down to before the Black Throne. Here we are. Okay, Ancient Evils is part of it, so that's kind of a bad example. All right, that's fine. So let's go back into pre-built deck. We'll use Curse of the Rougarou again. No trauma, no trauma. Go back. Close out of here. Okay. No trauma, no trauma. Easy difficulty. We would keep this hand. How about for Ursula? We would probably keep this hand as well. Well, we'll pretend we're keeping it for the time being. Everything there sets up. So we've got New Orleans here. Okay, the other thing I want to try is if I can load a... So Curse of the Rougarou, I know doesn't have Ancient Evils set into it. So let's go miscellaneous, standard tokens. Let's see, hotkeys are right here. So let's go... Okay, that part works. I'll hold control to add 5 tokens at a time. Okay. Push, pull, clue. So if we flip that over. Shroud of 1, no clues. So calculate intellect. Error in... Press hotkey 8. Okay, so the calculate stats over that you're seeing over here has to be done on the investigator. It can't be done on the location cards. Let's see what I'm looking for here. So if we start turn, must hover over a card to use the eye ability. Okay, so we start Diana Stanley's turn. So we move her up here, flip that, choose and discard a skill card from your hand. So I've got to be over on Diana. She would have a skill card. She'd have Vicious Blow that she'd have to discard. What I'm trying to remember here is how the other locations get into play. It's probably from advancing the... Probably from advancing the agenda. So that would be action 1. Trigger a reaction ability. Could I detach lead investigator and move that around? It's moving Actually, no. Lead investigator gets set with the start of the scenario, but you can change the... That's right. You can change the order of the investigators. What I'm trying to find, though, is where the chaos bag went hiding on me. So game hotkeys, retract an action. Oh, toggle the chaos bag. That's under B. All right. Shuffle. There should be a view for... the chaos bag, I would think. Let's go into hotkeys, so we can see what's in the chaos bag. Oh, see and okay. So if we go H, we name a token. Yep. No, we'll go Elder Thing because why not? Then C to reveal a token. Okay. Alright, so that would even work for Jacqueline's special ability. But the other thing I want to find out is if there's a way to add a... So, plugin options, there's a way to remove tokens. You can do tarot readings, select taboo, whether you use that or not. But the one thing it's not letting me do is it's not letting me load in individual encounter sets. Whereas in TTS, there is an option to do that for you. So I think that part of it, that part of this, I'm not a big fan of. Unless there's a hotkey in here where I can do that, but I don't see a hotkey in here. So let's Control Z. Action. Okay, so we're undoing all of that. Oh, it looks like it's undoing the individual effects here, but it's not actually undoing anything on the game board. But TTS doesn't do that either. So I guess I'm kind of maybe, what's the word I want? Maybe that's not necessarily a fair comparison. Let's see. So we do have the scenario card that we can pull up. We'll close out of the hotkeys for the time being. Keep the order there. There should be a set aside area as well that I'll probably have to go to shared. So it's going to be view, shared, not in play. Okay, we've got all of the cards that get set aside as usual. I thought these actually started as being part of the scenario. Maybe I'm wrong though on that. Okay, so yeah, it looks like this will do most of what I want it to do, but not all of it, because like I said, there is that functionality of how I like to take individual encounter sets from the main campaign. How I like to take encounter sets from the main campaign, like say in Circle Undone. If I was doing a Circle Undone based Curse of the Rougerou, I might shuffle in say the Silver Twilight Lodge encounter set, especially if one of the scenarios ends where we're enemies of the lodge. I think it's the second proper scenario that does that. I'm talking about after the prologue. So yeah, maybe I'll do a little bit more exploring with this. After all, there's still quite a bit of December left, so I'll probably do a little bit more scrutinizing of it. But that's my initial impression of DragnCards for Arkham Horror, the card game, and I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to take a little bit of a break here, but then I will get into my game of Overflight a little bit later on the channel. So stay tuned for that after I've had a chance to take a little bit of a break. So thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications to get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.